Welcome back to Universal Things YouTube channel. Imagine waking up one morning to discover that the weather forecasts are no longer talking about rainstorms or heat waves, but about the possible collapse of entire countries. Oceans are heating faster than scientists predicted. Crops are failing across continents. Ports are shutting down. And it all begins with one terrifying climate event, the Super El Niño. El Niño is not science fiction. It's a real climate phenomenon caused by unusually warm waters spreading across the Pacific Ocean. Normally, trade winds push warm water toward Asia, but during El Niño, those winds weaken. Heat moves eastward toward the Americas, changing weather patterns worldwide. In strong years, it can trigger floods, droughts, wildfires, food shortages, and billions in economic damage. But what if the next El Niño became stronger than anything humanity has ever recorded? Scientists already witnessed powerful El Niño events in 1982, 1997, and 2015. Each one disrupted the planet in different ways. Peru experienced deadly floods. Indonesia suffered devastating fires. Australia faced severe droughts. Fisheries collapsed. Diseases spread faster. But climate experts warn that global warming could supercharge future El Niño events, creating something far more dangerous. A super El Niño capable of reshaping civilization itself. At first, the world barely notices the danger. Ocean temperatures rise quietly beneath the Pacific. Satellites detect abnormal warming stretching thousands of miles. Meteorologists begin issuing warnings, but most people continue daily life as usual. Social media jokes about another hot summer. Politicians delay action. Businesses ignore supply risks. Yet beneath the surface, Earth's climate engine is beginning to break synchronization, and the atmosphere is loading itself like a weapon. Within months, rain patterns start behaving strangely. California is hit with relentless storms that trigger mudslides, floods, and blackouts. Entire neighborhoods disappear underwater. Insurance companies collapse under the cost of damages. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the Pacific, Australia experiences brutal droughts. Rivers shrink into cracked dirt. Crops die before harvest. Farmers begin abandoning land their families worked on for generations. Then South America enters crisis mode. Peru and Ecuador receive rainfall so extreme that highways collapse and sewage systems overflow into cities. Waterborne diseases spread rapidly through overcrowded shelters. Mosquito populations explode in the humid heat, increasing outbreaks of dengue fever and malaria. Hospitals fill faster than they can respond. The world realizes this is not a temporary disaster. This is becoming a global chain reaction. Across Asia, monsoon systems become unstable. India faces unpredictable rainfall that destroys both rice fields and urban infrastructure. In some areas, floods swallow villages overnight. In others, months pass without meaningful rain. Food prices skyrocket. Governments restrict exports to protect their own populations. Panic buying spreads internationally. Grocery stores in the United States begin experiencing shortages of basic items people once assumed would always exist. Then comes the heat, not normal summer heat, but relentless waves of temperature smashing historical records across multiple continents simultaneously. Power grids strain under massive air conditioning demand. In major cities like Phoenix, Dubai, and Bangkok, outdoor exposure becomes deadly for hours each day. Construction stops. Flights are delayed because overheated runways become unsafe. Even wealthy nations struggle to keep critical systems running. Oceans begin changing in terrifying ways. Warm water kills massive sections of coral reefs, destroying ecosystems that support millions of people through fishing and tourism. Fish migrate into unfamiliar waters, collapsing local fishing industries overnight. Countries argue over marine territory as food resources shift unpredictably. Coastal communities that survived for centuries suddenly face economic ruin within a single season. The Amazon rainforest, already weakened by deforestation and rising temperatures, enters severe drought conditions. Fires spread uncontrollably across huge areas of forest, sending smoke into the atmosphere visible from space. Scientists fear the rainforest may be approaching a tipping point where parts of it permanently transform into dry savanna. If that happens, one of Earth's greatest carbon storage systems could begin accelerating global warming instead of slowing it. Meanwhile, hurricanes in the Pacific and Atlantic become more destructive due to warmer ocean temperatures feeding them enormous amounts of energy. Coastal cities face repeated evacuations, ports close for weeks at a time. Shipping delays cripple global trade networks. Everyday products suddenly become rare and expensive. Cars, electronics, medicine, even food packaging materials become harder to manufacture as supply chains fracture under constant climate shocks. The financial system starts cracking under pressure. Insurance companies can no longer afford disaster payouts. Governments spend trillions rebuilding infrastructure while tax revenues fall from collapsing industries. Stock markets swing wildly as investors realize the climate crisis is no longer decades away. It is happening now. Economists begin comparing the situation to a global depression, but this time caused not by banks or war, but by Earth's changing climate system itself. As crops continue failing worldwide, countries begin competing for food supplies. Wheat production drops in some regions due to drought, while floods destroy harvests elsewhere. Meat prices soar because livestock struggle under extreme heat. Desperation grows among populations already living paycheck to paycheck. In many cities, protests erupt outside government buildings demanding action, price controls, and emergency aid. Then migration begins accelerating at historic levels. Millions of people flee regions devastated by drought, flooding, or food shortages. Border tensions rise as governments struggle to manage humanitarian crises. Refugee camps expand into temporary cities. Some experts warn that climate migration during a Super El Niño could destabilize political systems worldwide, creating conflicts over water, food, land, and energy unlike anything modern civilization has faced before. In the United States, daily life changes dramatically. Electricity blackouts become common during heatwaves. Water restrictions spread across western states. Coastal flooding damages homes that once cost millions of dollars. Insurance disappears from high-risk regions. Families begin relocating inland. For the first time, many Americans realize climate disasters are not distant problems happening somewhere else. They are now personal, immediate, and unavoidable. Scientists race to understand whether humanity accidentally pushed Earth into a more unstable climate era. Some studies suggest warming oceans could make extreme El Niño events occur more frequently in the future. Others fear feedback loops are forming between ocean heat, atmospheric moisture, wildfires, and melting ice. The terrifying reality is that Earth's systems are deeply connected, and once certain thresholds are crossed, reversing the damage may become incredibly difficult. Technology companies attempt emergency solutions. Massive desalination plants are built to fight water shortages. Artificial intelligence predicts weather disasters weeks in advance. Nations experiment with cloud seeding and controversial geoengineering projects designed to cool the planet. But critics warn that interfering with Earth's atmosphere on a global scale could create unintended consequences even more dangerous than the Super El Niño itself. Yet amid the chaos, humanity also changes in surprising ways. Cities redesign themselves around renewable energy and climate resilience. Communities begin growing food locally again. Scientists from rival nations collaborate instead of competing. Younger generations push governments toward faster environmental action. The disaster becomes a wake-up call forcing civilization to confront how fragile and interconnected modern life truly is. But one terrifying question remains unanswered. What if the Super El Niño is not a once-in-a-century event, but the beginning of a permanent new normal? Imagine future generations growing up in a world where food insecurity, climate migration, extreme heat, and constant disasters are simply part of everyday life. Would humanity adapt fast enough, or would modern civilization slowly fracture under pressures it was never designed to survive? The truth is, scientists know El Niño events are real, powerful, and capable of changing the world. What remains uncertain is how far climate change could amplify them in the future. And that uncertainty may be the most frightening part of all. So what do you think humanity would do during a Super El Niño? Could modern civilization survive it? Comment your thoughts below, share this video, and subscribe for more videos like this from Universal Things.